How you doing, folks? Edward here from the Crypto Viewing Group. I'm going to do a couple of quick plugs here and get into the reason for this video. But a big plug, big shout out for my pals and co-workers here at the Crypto Viewing Group. Check us out. The link will be below. We do a massive amount of remote viewing. We work remote viewing projects every single week, sometimes more than one. Every single week we've produced an enormous body of work relevant to where we are now, where we're going, as well as some woo-woo stuff and all kinds of it. Just check us out if you'd like. I highly recommend it. Also want to do a plug here for the IRVA conference that is happening this weekend. IRVA, the International Remote Viewers Association, having their yearly conference this weekend. You don't have to be there in person. You can join online and watch everything online. And I'm plugging this because Dick Allgaier, the great Dick Allgaier, and myself will be doing a presentation for IRVA this Friday evening, the 22nd. And we will be talking about crypto viewing and the magic of crypto viewing. And I will be doing my own presentation as well on the 24th, where I will be talking about the importance of capturing remote viewing on video, which has been my big obsession for the past 10 years. Recording myself remote viewing and publishing those for people to see. The importance of that, which in my opinion is massively important, as well as talks about my exploratory work, which has been my other obsession for the past 8 years, of the process, what is taking place in my brain, my nervous system, the stimulus, the dimensional sensations, emotional sensations, all that kind of stuff. I'll be going over that as well. So check out IRVA. I'll have the link for that below as well. And there's going to be some great presentations there. And so I look forward. Friday night, me and the great Dick Allgaier will be doing a cool talk about crypto viewing. So check it out. So this video here, after I do my little talk here, there's going to be about an hour-long discussion that I had a few years ago with German physicist named Markus Perk. And Markus reached out to me. He's a remote viewer as well in Germany. And he reached out to me a few years ago about my Pi sessions, when I remote viewed Pi. And I don't know how many sessions I did for that, 5, 6, 7 sessions, densely packed sessions, really densely packed. And he reached out to me because as a physicist, he was recognizing there were a lot of similarities in my remote viewing session that matched a German physicist that he was studying, a guy named Burkhard Heim, a incredible guy, long dead now, but a profound physicist. So Markus, coming up will be a talk where Markus talks about Burkhard Heim and the similarities between what I never heard of this guy, and the similarities between what came through in my session and what Markus was studying as far as the works of Burkhard Heim. So it's a fascinating discussion. This was on my Patreon. I don't know if I released this to the public, but I wanted to release it now because I had gotten several comments recently about the Pi sessions, as well as the Earth Core and Ominous Feeling sessions, and how some people were expressing to me that they felt that these were some of the most profound remote viewing sessions ever published, and important sessions. And I'm not a pat myself on the back kind of guy. I'm going to keep going, keep moving forward. I'm on to the next masterpiece, man. I'm always working the next masterpiece. You know, I go into a session, all I want the next masterpiece. That's all I want. I don't care about accolades or rewards. I'm only after the next masterpiece. That's my driving force. It's a driving force, man. But it was very kind of them to say that. And as a result, I went looking back through, and I don't think this talk was published for the free YouTube. So I am going to publish it now. So for those who are interested in the topic, interested in the talk, here it is, man. It's for free. So thanks so much. Again, check us out. Crypto viewing. We're always doing something. Check out IRVA. That is happening this weekend. Don't miss out. 50 years, baby. Check it out. The best is yet to come. The very best is yet to come. Thanks so much. How you doing, Patreon folks? This is probably not going to be the last Pi video that I put up, because I kind of got more stuff coming in. I'm going to do a Zoom meeting, a Zoom. I'm going to record a Skype conversation with Dustin, and we're going to talk about the Pi sessions and some of the other stuff he's been researching too. And in this one, I have the remaining conversation with Markus, as we go over more of my Pi sessions and his interpretation of the stuff from his knowledge of Bernhard Heim's work in physics. So this is really interesting. So Markus just sent me something the other day, and it was in regards to this part of the session here, where I was getting the spheres, a circle, and when some energy source reflected and illuminated a certain portion of the sphere of the circle, the resulting reaction was consciousness or awareness. That's what I was getting in this part of the session. So Markus just sent me this, and this Markus is reading this book by this von Ludwiger, a friend of Heim's, and he has this graphic of this half of a sphere here. And Markus says it immediately reminded me of this part of my session. And this is the text where von Ludwiger is explaining what is going on in his with this graphic. He says, in these high areas, and I'm zooming up here towards the top of this half of a sphere, ideas can cause paranormal phenomena. The x5 and x6 coordinates, which I can't really see that in here, are curved and meet at the top metaphorically. So this is all metaphor here. It's the uppermost point where the consciousness can go to. That's very interesting. I'd like to read this book. There it is connected to everything. It can simultaneously be everything, subject and object, and everywhere at the same time. Now, I don't know exactly what he's talking about here, but that sounds very much like what I was perceiving in this part of the session, and what this von Ludwiger's work relates to. Looks like I may have been picking up these types of ideas. So this is interesting, because he said in these areas, ideas, in parentheses, ideas can cause paranormal phenomena. So we are looking at some type of awareness, some type of consciousness, and the energy sparked by an idea or a thought creation, which is very, very similar to what I was experiencing right here, and what I was trying to describe, and what this was meaning to me when I was in this part of the session. So I'm still waiting. I'm going to get with Markus to kind of inform me on what else is going on here, so I can have a better understanding of it. Because as I'm looking at it now, the things that just as I'm looking back at these Pi sessions, it's like more is coming out. There's more there that I was tapping into, and this is just an example of that. So, but that's it. Up next here is the remainder of my conversation with Markus. There's some really cool stuff in there, and thanks again for subscribing, and many more to come.
Exactly. So that's it from my part. It was quite a bit, I have to admit.
That's great. Great.
Longer than I expected, but
I had questions.
but that and you needed to know that, because when I read through your sessions, I also saw the similarities to Heim's theory. Yeah. Oh, that's Heim's grave.
Yeah, look at those symbols.
Yeah. So the outer circle is 12 dimensions. Yeah, and the medium circle is the 6 dimensions, and the inner circle is our space, our 3D space, and there is a small cube with dotted grid lines, a cube and a leaf.
Yeah, the leaf representing life or physical matter.
I think biological.
Biology, okay.
Or life, yes, I think so. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So now when you were looking at my sessions, what was triggering you to look at related to Heim's work? Anything specific?
Many things, actually. So what I found interesting was that you, I think it was quite at the very end, that you felt that something was communicating, for example, yeah, like separated with the shroud or this. Oh, where was it? I just scrolling through. Yeah, in session 5 on page 6. Yeah, for example, try to make contact, a bridge. Yeah,
right.
I think that might relate perhaps to the mediator space. Yeah, that there is something which is sent back and forth between two entities, so to speak. The one might be you, and the other might be the creator or the creators of the universe. Who knows? Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that pi is deeply related into the G4 and is eternal in the sense of that it existed, that it does exist outside of space and time. Yeah.
And how do you come to that
just
realization that it's going to be outside of space and time?
Of our time, because as I said, there might be multiple universes, and they may be similar but not equal, and that this pi is a kind of transformational aspect of something. When I was preparing for this evening, I found I found something interesting in Heim's books. He says you have a formula that with which you can calculate the measurable electrical elementary charge, and within this formula, two parameters are only relating to pi. Yeah. So within this formula, you have two parameters which are only relating to pi.
What does that mean?
That a measurable charge is connected to pi. I don't know what it means.
That's what I was getting in the sessions too.
Ah.
Well, let's try to figure out what that means then, because
yeah, and perhaps therefore pi is some of the still unknown coupling coefficients inside the G4. But I haven't yet found out in the short time where I was preparing for this evening where it well starts, or what the basic action of pi is. Yeah.
Right.
And
because I mean, I'm still like in Heim's work, he's calculating the electrical
charges, for example.
Charges span all 6 dimensions, right?
Yes, I bring it back up on screen. A moment.
Yeah. So there's the gray field there.
Yes.
That's the electrical charge, and that's going to cover all 6 of the dimensions there.
Yeah.
And
what does it mean? Well, 2 parts. An electrical charge can be measured, and because it can measured, it's it happens in the 3D space. Yeah. So that's one part here, the upper part. Yeah. So matter is only measurable within our 3D space.
Yeah.
So now that is the so-called real aspect. No? And now we come to the imaginary dimensions. And here in the lower 3 dimensions, we have some photonic impact, because the properties of the photons are also contained in the electrical charge.
Right.
That means we have somewhere a change of, or an influence of time, and an influence of the gravity component. And as I said in the live section, yeah, also matter is organized along the x-axis. Not only matter, but also living matter and so on. Yes. So we have different grades of organization along this x5 axis. And when there is no change in all of these components, you don't see anything. And that this small diagram means if you have a kind of change, like interaction, then you have a change, and then you might notice or see something. So in the case of photons, when x6, x5, and x4, so the structure space and time, change and interact, you get some photonic emissions. And in combination with space, you get, for example, electrical charge particles, which might be an electron.
Okay. And then so then how that correlates with pi is that those photons, those electrons, are spherical energy forces. And so pi is, we're trying to calculate the circumference of those things. And so is that how we're correlating in?
That's a good question, because there are no, it's a good question. Spheres. Well, actually, we have a 12-dimensional axis system or grid system. Yeah, made of all these squared areas. So usually there should not be any spheres, as far as I understand time. Only as I'm not absolutely sure, but that's only my opinion. And then there is a question: why is it transferred into a sphere sometimes when the pi is used? And I think when you remember the very beginning of the universe, when there was only 1 metron per sphere, so that this squared area was turned into a sphere. I think that's the point where you perhaps best could start your research. Yeah, so that's a sphere turned into a square.
Because when I'm listening to what you're saying about that, and I'm trying to compare it to what I was experiencing in this session, it's like going from one reality to another reality. So what I was trying to come to in these sessions was that we were born into the sphere realm,
Yeah.
the pi realm, with the splitting of the cells and everything like that.
That reminds me of something. Where do I have it? Where do I have it? There. Okay. As I said before, we have this here is the expression of the grid length from these squared areas for the lower 6 dimensions. Yeah, so the square of an area is a length. So this S0 is the length representing a square of tau.
Mm-hmm.
And for the lower 3 dimensions, they have all the same axis or grid length, basis length, for example. For the dimensions 4 to 6, you just add the I, that's imaginary. Yeah. You know I in mathematics?
No, only from what I've seen in your presentation here.
I squared is -1.
Okay.
It's the imaginary number.
Okay.
So, but for the upper 6 dimensions, you have as axis or base lengths this S0 only. Okay, here only a factor, but it's S0. For the dimensions x7 and x8, you suddenly get something here with pi. Where the heck does it come from?
Yeah, where does it come from?
It's only one possibility. It comes from the mediator space.
Right.
Yeah. And
right. And so what does that mean then? So
that means it must come from the G4.
So if then we're in the sphere space, then we're like projected or generated from the G4 space. And that's probably why we have the wisdom intuition grid that we experience. Would you say that might be true? That like the wisdom and intuition grid is a link to the G4?
Definitely, yes. All is connected essentially to the G4 via this projection of fields. It's a feedback loop, so to speak.
So it's like if we move through the information's realm, it's like not only having access to the information realm, where we would maybe get remote viewing information, but also the link to the G4 as well. But let me ask you, I got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
In relationship to my sessions here. In the first session, I have a brain inside of a box. And when I'm looking at these squares, the square realm, that's what I'm thinking of from that first session, that box realm. And the idea in that was like a consciousness that was inside of that box, and it was like it was restricted by that box. And so I'm wondering if in from the G4 realm, if being like, let me see how I want to phrase this, because it seems like the square realm is like restrictive. You know, you hit a wall, so to speak. You're
Yeah.
inside the box, you know.
Well, yes. Perhaps in the sense of you cannot directly transform something from the G4 to the information space. For some reasons, it's not possible.
Because of the uncertainty principle.
No, I think that has some other reasons. I can't recall, unfortunately. Um, but that was not yet the uncertainty. The uncertainty is a result of when the mediator transfers information to the information space. But you have no direct connection from the G4 to the I2 to the information space, and that might refer to the box, let's say, yeah, to the boxed element, and it has to go have to step sideways, or has to go how do you call it, not the direct way, but it has to go
Diagonal?
yeah, diagonal, for example, via the mediator space, and that might be the restrictive component, might be.
Because I had this thought the other day. Have you ever seen that movie, The Abyss?
Or a long time ago.
I was thinking about my sessions, and I started thinking about the movie The Abyss. I saw it a long time ago too, but in the movie, they find a sphere. This is how I related it to the pi sessions. They find
Okay.
a sphere, like
Yeah.
this magical sphere, and if they step inside of it and then come back out, they have the ability to manifest whatever they're thinking. So it's almost like the sphere brought them into the G4 realm. They came back with G4 capabilities and were able to manifest whatever they were thinking. And do you remember that part?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere in the back of my head, but yeah, okay. I think I do.
And so basically, what I'm curious about is how these geometrical shapes represent the reality that we experience. Because like what I'm thinking is the sphere realm is the physical realm that is creates a host for us to bring our G4ness in into these realms. But we got a mediator in an information space in between us. As remote viewers, we're looking at the information mediator space because that's what we're looking at as remote viewers. But it seems like we're pointing ourselves at the G4 space. Um, but what I'm trying to wrap my head around is how these geometric how these geometric realms may be some type of a clue, like the sphere realm, which is the pi realm or the box realm, and how they're like different dimensions. Because what I was thinking about is like with pi, the more sophisticated we become, the larger the calculation becomes.
Yes.
So when we were, not so smart, it was three times the radius is three times the circumference, and now it's 3.14 and a couple of million other digits. It seems like the more sophisticated we become, the more we're trying to fill the gap. But what happens then? What if we moved into the box realm or the square realm, or what's in there? Is that where the mediator realm is, or are we getting closer to the G4 realm if we move out into some different space? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but regarding the representation of the universe, I think you have to skip the differentiation that the G4 is something outside of us. We are all part of this whole 12-dimensional space.
I hear you, but as far as accessing um, the G4, we still have that uncertainty principle to get
Yeah.
through for the information in the mediator realm to get
Yeah.
into our G4-ness, you know.
Yes.
And so what the Pi sessions have done to me is it's allowing me to look at it in terms of these different spatial realms that that who knows, I don't know, maybe we need to get out of them in order to fully experience our G4-ness, out of the sphere realm or out of the rectangular realm, or the box realm or the square realm. I
Yeah.
mean, that might not make any sense, but it's almost like doorways or passageways to move that are in between us. You know, I mean, that's an unsophisticated way of looking at it, and but it's some idea that I have that is I'm having a really hard time trying to calculate. But like that rectangular thing right there, um, right there, that I was trying to describe,
Yeah.
maybe like a doorway or something like that.
When you told about well, traveling from two and evolving or getting more digits of pi, and by this knowledge to get the knowledge perhaps through pi to another shapeness, so to speak. It reminds me of the what is it called, chariot of Ezekiel.
Yeah, the
Uh,
squares and the
yeah, not the shape itself, but um, in one we did a few sessions on this, and what we got was that this, let's say, UFO or however you call it, is something which appears from time to time, and it looks for intelligence that the species can communicate with that highly evolved something, and in there are coordinates for a location somewhere in space and time. So when this civilization or the person have reached a high evolved level, it can find or it can decode the information contained within this UFO and can likely also travel to this space. So that might be a similarity with the digits of pi.
yeah, it could be a coordinate.
Not necessarily a coordinate, but when you get to know how the digits are made of and what they represent, that then you have reached such a high level in the X5 with the intuition and wisdom that you then can cross the border, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could do it mathematically by technology, for example, is one way, which is done by P. Or, for example, you can do it mentally, for example, by viewing that you reach such a highly evolved level. Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin, perhaps.
Right, exactly. Yeah, totally. And I think that remote viewing has that kind of potential for getting us closer to that.
Definitely. And when you have reached such a high level of understanding, also within the X5, then you can play, let's say, magic or whatsoever, because then you are able to influence everything around you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, that again makes me think of that movie, The Abyss, where
Yes. Mhm.
they suddenly had that capability for whatever reason by entering into the sphere or entering into pi or or whatever,
Yeah.
and coming out and having the greater ability, or the greater potential that that we have, basically, is what it really boiled down to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm always trying to do with remote viewing, is to move through these realms
With the
and get
thresholds,
it,
yes, and
yeah,
push
and
and push. It's
get a
really
taste of it.
amazing what you are doing, Edward. That's really amazing how you pursue this. Fantastic.
Well, it's freaking never ending, man. Never ending. It's an obsession, and you know, that's why, like, I'm very appreciative that you take the time to do this, because this inspires me to give me the next piece of, because I'll tell you what happens,
Breadcrumb, yeah.
Marcus, is I'll get some inspiration probably from G4, makes it through, or the mediator says, here, man, here's a droplet,
Yeah.
and I'll get the inspiration, we'll make it through, and then I'll have a sense of direction, because now I have some sense of direction. Mediator realm. Oh, I'm going to be doing some sessions to try to tap into the mediator realm,
Yeah.
which I have, because I did a series of sessions where I was trying to influence the selector of a target who would select a target for me in the future.
Okay.
And so what I did was I did the session prior to sending a request to that person to select a target for me.
Yeah.
And so in doing so, in a different realm of time. And I was trying to do a couple of things. One of them, I wanted to see if I could feel a difference in that time realm, because the second person was not influencing that space yet.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to experience it prior to it being influenced by another person's thinking. And then I was trying to, I guess we could probably say this, act as in mediator realm of trying to influence the target that they would select for me. And so my session, part of, I had a couple different things that I was trying to do. And one of them was I was trying to project the target in my work
Yeah.
that that person would then select. So I was trying to act out in the mediator space, in my opinion, and trying to influence it. Because to me, when I think of mediator, I was trying to kind of mediate
Yeah.
the what would take place in the future there.
I think though that this what you describe is rather happening in the structural space, because as I mentioned, on these different levels within the X5, you had these activity streams, and by these activity streams you can, let's say, sort or influence the sensefulness of what is happening. Yeah, that is, so to speak, remote influencing.
Pull up a graph on that if you could, Marcus.
I just look for a certain sketch, and then I try to show it for you. Just give me a second. Nee, da ist es nicht. Oh, where is it? Okay. So book found, and now I have to find the sketch. No. Okay. So we are here in the X5 realm again. Yeah, that's only a very representative sketch. So when you have an idea or whatsoever, you can project it higher above to a certain level, for example, charge it or whatsoever, and then at a certain condition, you can say it should go down again and become real or manifest within space-time. So this can be done within the X5 realm, so to speak. Yeah.
So I see what this is showing is you project something up into the higher realm, and it interacts, and then it comes back down into the denser realm here.
Yeah, but it's all on the X5
in
first.
in the X5, yeah.
Yeah. So here the conditions for the later creation of manifest events is settled. Yeah. So you have here the realm of mental activities, you have the realm of wisdom, intuition, but it's all within the X5. Yeah. So when you're doing a session and try to influence your tasker, then I think first, as far as I understand time, it's done here within the X5 realm. But of course, also it's going all the way up and down from the space to the G4. Yeah.
Yeah.
The main activity, so or the seed, so to speak, is on within the X5.
I'm wondering if in the scenario like this, as that impulse or that signal reaches up to G4, and then probably has to go through kind of a decision making through several decision making realms that may or may not, maybe it may be chosen to come back down in a different way or something like that, like the uncertainty principle. What if it goes into another realm, and if it comes back, it may be different?
It's related to G4, so G4 has an influence on that, yes, but here I think the, let's say, idea or the activity streams to achieve a certain result are done. So here your idea starts, I want to influence a tasker or whatsoever, and then this information is carried upward all the way to the G4. Then as a result, you got an answer from the G4 and it's projected down via your X5 component. And then finally, you got the result as a manifest event in space.
Well, would it also, though, have to filter through the mediator in the information space, though, too, right?
Always.
And so so I'm wondering if in those, as it's moving through those realms, how it's being recoded, or what might be happening to it as it's moving through those realms on its way back down here. You know what I'm saying?
I only know that within the G4, there are only pure numbers. Yeah, I don't know, as far as I know, only pure numbers. And in there is information about the physical foundations of our world. So how does electromagnetism acts on us? How does gravity acts on us? And there are still 8 unknown factors we don't know, which are within the G4. Yeah, so there is much space left for speculation, and there will be certainly something with which you could explain this. Yeah, but we still don't know from the physical point of view. That's still open for viewing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Those are the realms. Those are that way. It's that way. Point
Yeah,
it that way,
exactly.
which I definitely will be doing. Was there anything else in these sessions that you found interesting? In session that was under session 3.4 on page number, what is it? Page. I draw a picture of a person and there's all these electric fields spinning.
Yeah. Um, well, I think we have to leave the idea of that we are something separated, but we are all different aspects of. Yeah. So we are all, how do you say it? Everything goes through us in one way or the other. Yeah. So the electrical field may be kind of background radiation from the informational space, or that this is information from the information space.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we are kind of holographic simulated something. Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you think that the idea of pi or the inspiration to pursue pi may be something from the information space?
The information space as such, I think it's likely always available.
Basically, it's
if
you know,
you
do you
find the
think
right
that
way,
the inspiration may be coming from there is what I'm asking for your opinion on.
not the inspiration that comes, I think, as trigger from the X5, where you have your wisdom intuition region. It knows there is something up there in the information space which is relevant for me to get a deeper understanding of the universe, and then it requests perhaps this information. Yeah. And then you got a breadcrumb and follow it, and then you see, oh, okay, there comes a lot of information related to pi, and I still can't decode it yet. So it talks in symbols to me that there's a kind of threshold and perhaps a transition and so on. And likely this information is still so sophisticated, perhaps, that we can't get its pure core yet. Yeah, so it tries to talk in symbols to us.
Yeah, because like when we were going through that, to me the wisdom inspiration realm to me is like our ability to tap into the information space or the mediator space where we can kind of tunnel through there and get inspiration, which would be like, oh, pi, yeah, I want to calculate the circumference of a circle. Well, why would you want to do that? I don't know. I got inspired to, and by the way, it's basically the construct of the reality that we experience.
Yeah.
And so our pursuit is to understand that, and then we're inspired to calculate it, and it seems like it's it's ongoing. It's a constant pursuit.
Yeah, probably there is no end, and you got higher and higher and higher evolved, and yeah, there is no end, so to speak. It's likely triggered by this wisdom intuition area range or whatsoever, and it's closely related to the information space and the G4. Yes. What Heim said was there seems to be a tendency for, let's say, evolution in the sense of getting more complex, in the sense of getting higher on the X5 axis. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be a basic principle of existence or life, so to speak. Okay, just say life or no, existence. Because in the very beginning, there couldn't have been any life. There just was matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some reason, living matter must have become into existence for some reason, and that can only be from an outside source which influenced the dead matter for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the logical way is that we will evolve on and on and on this X5 axis to get more intuitive and to get a closer connection to the information space. That's the natural way life happens if we survive as species.
Yeah. Or will we just move back into the information mediator space, back to G4 and out of this
realm? Yes.
Matter realm.
Yes.
That's gonna, because like when I'm looking at this here, and I'm kind of trying to, and I'm thinking about it in terms of pi, like in the image with the circle with the line from the center to the part of the sphere. Oh, could you go back to that last image with the X5?
Sorry.
That's cool. In relation to that, what I see is like the submatter one here is like the center of the circle, and as we're going out towards the radius, we're going through matter, living matter, psyche, mental, and then as we're getting to the edge of the circle, or I would consider that the threshold of awareness, where we have access to wisdom and intuition, but only a certain amount, because we're not because we're governed within the sphere realm, and in my explorations of the threshold of awareness, or the liminal barrier, and from this I would put the wisdom intuition at the radius, or in the circumference of the sphere of the threshold of our awareness, and we're poking through that into the information realm, or into the information space, to get remote viewing type data and what other experiences that we have access to. Yeah, that image there.
Yes.
So yeah, that centerpiece would be the submatter realm. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to the image of the nucleus of conception, this one.
Oh, you mean the cells?
The cells dividing, because that outer sphere there, where those four spheres are inside of, there's that outer sphere, and to me, that outer sphere is the threshold of our awareness. Mm-hmm. And our awareness is trapped inside of there. And so that may be, in my point of view, this outer sphere may be the wisdom intuition belt, and then outside of that would be the information space, and then spooky action at a distance, connected to the mediator realm and the G4 realm.
Yeah.
in some uncertainty ways, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it this way too. Yeah.
That's kind of that's an actually, interesting. Yeah. That's kind of how my brain works on it.
That reminds me that picture of perhaps how the universe at the very, very beginning looked like. Yeah, as I told you, when time came into existence, only one sphere remained in the real space, and two went into the imaginary, and there was only one metron, and that multiplied, so became two, and that multiplied again, and so on and so on. So actually, today we have a very large universe with very, very small metrons, and actually that's what we see here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that image right there is like the image of the reality that we came into.
Yes.
Totally. It's I think we're getting close, Marcus. I think we're getting close.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great talking to you, man. I'm so thankful that you took the time to go over your awesome presentation and take some time to go over some of this stuff and to help me to kind of validate some ideas and kind of push it forward a couple of levels.
Mhm.
And this is great because it gives me new ideas of things to apply to remote viewing experiments.
Yeah, that's great. So I think the exchange is beneficial for both of us, yeah, because I rather look with the physical point of view on these things, and as I saw your sessions, they just gave me a different perspective and let me rethink things. And nothing happens by pure chance. There is no chance, as I know now behind, because everything is governed by probabilities there in the structural space. So there was a reason that we have.
G4 don't mess around, man.
Yeah, exactly, man.
All right, Marcus. Hey, we'll have to do this again, man.
When I have fundamental new information for you, we can do this definitely. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great. All
Oh,
right, man.
I have to send greetings from my German friend Sandra from Hamburg to you. She told me, "Oh, you are Skyping with Edward, saying greetings."
Well, tell her I said hello too. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to ask you, Marcus, because this has been an interesting thing on my mind. Because Heim is German. I'm going to assume he's from that part of the
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that so many of these physicists are from Germany or that part of the world. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you think that maybe there's something geophysical there that is opening this stuff so people in that area are somehow maybe the geomagnetic or something like that, but people in that area are getting this type of information.
Yeah. I heard this too, and some refer to the Earth Kundalini. So in the Asian part of the world, there are the, let's say, more intuitive ones. And because how the Earth Kundalini was situated, we have here the more rational approach, for example, logic and physics and so on.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And now it's turning for some reason, and areas are moving, but that's only something vague. I can remember I've heard, so perhaps in a few centuries there is a different center of logic and different spiritual centers. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because the poles are moving, and so maybe and all the shifting going on
Yes.
that may be that. Oh, see, dude, that takes me to another element real quick here, another
Okay,
element of the
sure, sure.
session where let me find it where there was a sphere. This goes right into what we're talking about here. Oh, let me find it. I have a sphere and there is an energy hitting the sphere, and when it hits it at a certain angle, consciousness is the resulting effect. Ah, where is it?
Yeah, you mean these? I know what you mean.
I think it was
This
in the second session.
sky
Check.
kind of it almost looked like an eyeball with his arrows. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's session number 2.
Yeah, there it is, and I put it on screen.
That's it. That's it.
There we have it. Yeah.
And what I was thinking in this after getting the feedback of what the target was and how this may correlate to consciousness, um, where if those if in the side of the sphere a certain realm of that sphere, kind of like what we're talking about, like the area that around that is, you know, called Germany has a certain, seems like a certain frequency hitting it, that in the sphere,
Okay.
when certain whatever, I'm generic term particles or whatever, but a certain part of that sphere gets ignited or sparked, that the resulting effect is awareness or consciousness. What do you think about that?
I thought that when you drew this, that this was rather on a very small scale and not on planetary scale. So therefore, I'm a little bit surprised that you make the transfer to planetary scale. Uh, well, it would also fit to the X5 realm again, I think, because when you have a sphere, so to speak, um, when you turn these layers into, how do you say it? The wisdom intuition would be the North Pole, for example, and the matter or submatter would be the South Pole, for example. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then depending on how certain outside influence comes in, it is reflected by that ring, that it triggers the mental or intuitional layers or
right.
levels. I don't know, but that would make more sense in my point of view than transfer to the planetary scale.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was thinking about this in relation to even in the session, because I didn't know what this was. It was reminding me of Saturn because it looked like Saturn,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what it was referring to. But it's interesting because of some of the ideas of Saturn um,
Yeah.
were kind of relating to what I was experiencing here
Mm.
as well. Um, But that's interesting because I've I think that if we look at the kind of the micro macro version of it, or the information medium realm, X5 realm, it's kind of like um, if you have a certain axis, you may have access to more of the information or mediator realm from a specific access point. I mean, I don't know, but that's kind of what I was, and that's kind of how I was
Yeah.
feeling in this part of the session.
Okay. Then I can confirm it from a session we did with a in the jump gate group. One tasking was go to the optimum position to view. Yeah. So what is the best position at all to view, to get your information from? Yeah.
Yeah,
And uh, most people described, let's say, some column made of light, and I used this light column as an, let's say, elevator, yeah, and left it on the end, and I ended up on a plane where highly evolved beings are residing, for example, and yeah, they consisted, or they were made of pure light, yeah. So
yeah,
they're very highly evolved, and that means they were very highly here on the X5 axis. Yeah. So the higher you are evolved, the clearer you get your information because you
right,
are closer to the information realm.
right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Lucky me.
Awesome. Well, great, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure that I don't accidentally
Yeah.
erase
Quit and you
this
didn't.
video.